How's it going, bros? My name is Felix Schellberg. For many decades now, the year of desktop Linux has been memed to no end. It's this ethereal specter that we in the community have been chasing for many years but are never able to find. You see, I think there's a misconception within our community that if we simply give a regular person a nice, easy to use working Linux distro like Linux Mint or Ubuntu, that they will simply adopt it, that they will learn the intricacies of the OS and use it in their daily workflow. Now, this is all without considering that the regular person does not have autism. If you're going to spend hours of your day learning how to use terminal commands to install packages and update your system, learning about file system hierarchy and user permissions, or learning a very niche desktop environment so you can rice your Linux distro, I'm not saying you have autism, but if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. But in this situation, the glove did fit, so you cannot acquit. Now, you might say, Mr. Schellberg, are you really insinuating that everyone who uses Linux has autism? That's incredibly insensitive, and not to mention just flat out wrong. Well, pipe down, little boy, because I got the data to back it up. Here we have Takao Now. Autism prevalence is now 1 in 36, signifying the 22% increase in prevalence rates reported by the CDC since 2021. And if you look at the data here, back in 1970, the autism rate was 1 in 10,000, and by 1995, it had already reached 1 in 1,000. What happened in this time frame? 1991, Linus himself released the first ever Linux kernel. Now, from 1995 to 1999, we see this huge jump from 1 in 1,000 to 1 in 500. So what happened in that time frame? Debian. Debian 0.01 was released 1993. The Debian project kept having updates, and Debian 1.1 was released in 1996, exactly in this time frame where we see this jump. 1999 to 2000, well, that might have been due to a national tragedy. But 2002, Arch Linux is released for the first time. We see this huge bump. 2004, we already know. Ubuntu is released. 2004, boom! And from there on onwards, there's Linux distros released every year. Everyone making their own little forks and their own little distros. And the autism rate just keeps going on up and up. Now, if you're a statistics buff, you might say, well, correlation does not equal causation. The creation of more Linux distros did not mean that more people became autistic, and you're correct. It's actually the other way around. The more autistic people became over the course of the years, the more Linux distros were released. You see, people who want Linux to be adopted by the majority have a completely twisted understanding. They think that if you give people a Linux distro, a perfectly working, fine Linux distro, that they will use it. See, what we want to give is not operating systems, but rather autism, right? Because if you're able to give people autism, they will gravitate towards Linux naturally. They will rice the shit out of their desktop environment completely without you even asking. And isn't that how we, as regular Linux users, started in the first place? So let's not focus on the distro. Let's not focus on the user interface. Let's not focus on the ease of use of the things that we are shipping to our Linux distros, but rather let's focus on giving each other autism.